my #1 favorite product from Exclusive Beauty Club, and that has to be the SkinCeuticals Vitamin C Serum.
Holy grail, the benchmark, the, Mona Lisa of vitamin C serums, the SkinCeuticals C E Ferulic Serum.
This is by far my favorite, or I should say, my holy grail vitamin C.
This is the gold standard of skincare. SkinCeuticals C E Ferulic. Price tag? A cool $182. This one? It's the viral darling.
Maelove's the Glow Maker Antioxidant Serum. I love this serum. I'm such a fanboy about it. It's not that I'm biased. It's not that they've paid me. None of these are sponsored reviews. It's just that I really like the product.
Maelove's Glow Maker, and it's only $30. They list the exact same ingredients. They promise the exact same results.
So basically this product has absolutely the same ingredients on here. They both are 15% L-ascorbic acid. They both have vitamins E and ferulic acid and hyaluronic acid in them.
But the reality is they're far from the same. One does exactly what it says on the bottle. The other is a gateway drug to a black market filled with lead, carcinogens, and even urine. Yeah, you could be putting pee on your face. So how do brands convince you that cheap knockoff is the same as the original? It is a clever marketing trick. They sell you the lie that the ingredients are the same. They sell you on the savings for your budget. They sell you with the truth that some brands are a ripoff. But the reality is that sometimes you do get what you pay for, or in this case, don't, because your savings could cost you your skin. From the marketing lie to the dark side of cheap knockoffs. Welcome to the great skincare deception. To understand the scam, let's look at the languages in the skincare influencer community. If you think about it, 10 years ago, if you bought a fake designer bag, you would hide it. Why? You feel embarrassed because it was a knockoff. But nowadays, we don't buy knockoffs. We're proud to buy dupes. And suddenly, we're not embarrassed anymore. It becomes a flex. This all started on TikTok, fueled by the new generation of looking high class, but with a low budget. The TikTokers reframed the story narrative. Now, buying the cheap dupe wasn't about being poor anymore. It's about being a smart consumer. You start to feel like you are beating the system of those big brand skincare and their overpriced marketing. Now you enter the era of the skintellectual. So brands like The Ordinary exploded the market with a radical idea of being transparent. This brand market angle is to sell single ingredients for dirt cheap. So they taught us to read the label on the back of the bottle. They taught us that niacinamide is niacinamide. It's the same thing whether it's $5 or $50. Influencers like Hiram built massive careers decoding these lists.
When I realized, holy shit, I do not need to be spending this much money on skincare products. There are so many good affordable options out there where I can get basically the same exact experience.
They told us that expensive brands were just scams and fancy packaging. You as a consumer feel so empowered. You feel like you finally had the power in your own hands to decide how to spend your money wisely. But actually, we were just handing the marketers more power to manipulate us. Why? Because by focusing only on the ingredient list, we created a massive loophole. A loophole that allowed skincare brands to sell us inferior products while convincing us that we were geniuses for buying them. And that loophole starts with a simple lie about the chemistry. The entire dupe is the same argument rests on one single piece of paper. The International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients List, or INCI list, that the list of ingredients on the back of the box. So we have been trained to look at that list when we see niacinamide, and we think, great, it has the good stuff. But here is the secret that cosmetic chemists know and marketers hide from us. The INCI list is not a recipe. It is just a list of ingredients that tells you what is in the bottle. But it doesn't tell you the quality of the ingredients in that bottle. And in chemistry, quality is everything. This brings us to the first pillar, the purity. Ingredients like vitamin C or niacinamide are sold on a global market. And just like diamonds, they are graded. At the top, you have pharmaceutical grade, the gold standard, 99.9% pure, refined, tested, and expensive. This is what reputable medical grade skincare brands buy. But at the bottom, you have technical grade. This stuff is cheap and dirty, and it is loaded with impurities. Let's take a look at niacinamide. It is everyone's favorite ingredient. It calms redness. It soothes skin. But if a dupe brand wants to cut costs to sell you a $6 serum, they buy the cheap stuff. And the cheap niacinamide is often contaminated with a byproduct called nicotinic acid. Why does that matter? Because nicotinic acid causes flushing, redness, and burning.
So really the important difference between nicotinic acid and niacinamide is that nicotinic acid can cause flushing in some people.
Yeah, so we use niacinamide. Most of the things have transitioned to niacinamide now because it doesn't cause that flushing, which most, if not everybody, wants to avoid.
So you buy the dupe, you put it on your face, and your skin turns bright red and starts stinging. You start to think, oh no, my skin hates niacinamide. Wrong. Your skin loves niacinamide. Your skin hates the garbage impurities left floating in that cheap $6 formula. And that is the major difference between the high-end bottle and the dupe you are buying. But even if the ingredients have high purity level, if the recipe isn't well formulated, then the product doesn't work either. And that is the biggest lie in this dilemma. Here is where the skintellectual logic starts to fall apart. Because believing a product is good just because of the ingredient list is like believing a cake will taste the same just because you bought flour, eggs, and sugar. When you give those to a Michelin star pastry chef versus a toddler, they both have the same ingredients, but the result? One cake is a masterpiece. The other is a mess on the floor. This is bring us to the second pillar, the formulation. The ingredient list tells you what is in there, but it hides the secret sauce. The list doesn't tell you any of the percentages nor the order they were mixed. And more importantly, it doesn't tell you the pH level. For example, take vitamin C, which is a diva in skincare. So for it to actually work and to penetrate your skin and not just sit there turning brown, it needs to be in a highly acidic environment with pH between 2 and 3.5. If a knockoff brand throws 15% vitamin C into a bottle, but the pH is only 4, this became a useless product. Like you're just applying expensive, sticky orange juice to your face. And we have proof that the recipe is the most important part of skincare products. Here's the legal proof. In 2018, L'Oreal, which is the parent company of SkinCeuticals, sued the trendy brand Drunk Elephant. Why? Because Drunk Elephant released a dupe of SkinCeuticals' famous C E Ferulic serum. Now, pay attention to this. L'Oreal didn't sue them for using vitamin C because you can't copyright a vitamin. They sued them for copying the patent. This patent proved that the magic wasn't in the ingredients. It was in the specific combination, like the specific solvent system that kept it stable, the specific pH that made it work. That lawsuit is the evidence that proves that the dupe isn't the same copy of the product. Let's assume the dupe brand did use pure ingredients, and let's assume they did get the formulation right. They would still fail because of the third pillar, delivery systems. How the active ingredients get into your skin. Think about it. Your skin has one job, which is to keep things out. The outer layer is like a brick wall. So when you slap a cheap, basic formula onto your face, your skin does its job. It blocks it. The ingredient just sits on the surface. It's stuck on the sidewalk. And this is where purity comes back to haunt you. Remember those cheap, impure ingredients? They are unstable. When they sit on the surface of your skin, exposed to air, they oxidize. They turn brown. They degrade. So not only is the product not getting in, it is actively breaking down on you. High-end brands people know this. That is why they spend millions on encapsulation technology. Think of this like a VIP pass. They wrap the volatile active ingredient in a microscopic bubble, a liposome. This bubble tricks your skin. It slips past your skin barrier and carries the active ingredient deep down into your skin, where it is actually needed. While the cheap dupe, it has no VIP pass, no bubble. It is just raw ingredients thrown in a bottle. That is the difference between buying a perfectly extracted, high-pressure espresso versus chewing on a handful of raw coffee beans. Technically, the ingredient is the same. It's all just coffee, but one wakes you up. The other just breaks your teeth. But the knockoff brands know you can't tell the difference. So they use one final trick to convince you it's working. The final trick? Just like how they lie to your face without breaking the law. This trick is called sneaky verbiage. So for high-end medical grade brands like SkinCeuticals, they have to prove their products work. They spend years and millions of dollars on clinical trials. They use scientific instruments to measure your wrinkles before and after. They have to prove that their specific formula works on human skin. Knockoff brands, they don't do any of that. Instead, they use two specific tricks to fool you. Trick number 1, the ingredient claim. Read their box carefully. It rarely says, our formula reduces wrinkles. Instead, it says, formulated with vitamin C, an ingredient known to reduce wrinkles. Do you see the difference? They aren't testing their product. They're just citing a textbook definition. It is like selling you a pile of wet wood and saying, contains wood, a material known to burn. Yeah, wood does burn, but your wet wood probably won't start a fire. Trick number 2, the consumer perception study. You see this everywhere on TikTok. 97% of users saw brighter skin. That sounds like science, but it isn't. It is just a survey. They gave the product to 30 people and asked them, do you feel prettier? It measures feelings, not facts. It is where marketing dressed up as science. So when you compare that $180 bottle to the $30 dupe, you aren't just paying for the name brand, you are paying for the scientific proof. The worst part isn't that you are wasting money on a Wish product, but this savings game is actually costing you a fortune. The promise of Knockoff's culture is simple. Why pay more when you can pay less? It frames the expensive purchase as stupid and the cheap purchase as savvy. But for millions of people, the math doesn't add up. The dupe hunt is a trap. You buy the $30 dupe, it feels sticky, it smells weird, it doesn't work. So you buy another one. One Reddit user described their search for a moisturizer dupe as a colossal waste. They spent hundreds of dollars on 5 cheap versions, only to realize none of them worked. Another admitted, I've probably spent more money trying to find dupes than just using the original product anyway. And that is the best case scenario. The worst case? The dupe fail. Remember those impurities? One user shared their nightmare of trying to find cruelty-free dupes. The result wasn't savings. It was active irritation and an eczema flare-up. They weren't reacting to the hero ingredient. They were reacting to the cheap, dirty formulation. So now, you haven't just wasted $30, but you have damaged your skin barrier. And now you have to spend more money to fix the damage the cheap product caused. It is a cycle of craziness. You are looking for a holy grail that doesn't exist at that cheap price point. But this cycle of waste is just the surface level danger. Because once you get used to buying cheap alternatives, you get used to ignoring the brand and only looking at the look of the bottle, you open the door to something much, much worse. This is the final dangerous reality check of this dupe trend. It is literally a gateway drug. By celebrating knockoffs, we have blurred the line between a legal alternative and an illegal counterfeit. You scroll through the TikTok shop, you see a bottle that looks just like the high-end one. It's $10.
This is my $48 serum, and this is my $9.99 serum. Y'all thought that I was crazy when I told you I stopped using my expensive serum for this one that's under $10.
Your brain, trained by Dupe Culture, thinks, score, another dupe. But it's not a dupe, it's a fake. And these fakes aren't made in labs with consumer perception tests. They are made in unregulated shadow factories. And what is inside them is a horror story. Lab tests on seized counterfeit cosmetics have found high levels of lead and mercury neurotoxins that can cause permanent damage. They have found di2-ethylexyl phthalate, DEHP, a known carcinogen. And in some cases, they even have found urine. When you chase the look for the lowest price possible, this is where the road ends with you poisoning yourself to save $20. So the verdict? The skincare dupe is a myth. It is a marketing deception built on a single, flawed premise that the ingredient list matters more than the chemistry. We have proven that the real value is invisible. It's the purity that keeps you safe. It's the formulation that makes it stable. It's the delivery system that gets it into your skin. And it's the clinical proof that guarantees it works. When you buy a dupe, you aren't beating the system. You are buying a shadow of a product. You think you are getting the results for a fraction of the price, but the truth is, you are only getting a fraction of the product. And it doesn't work as you think.